Welcome back everybody, it's Monday morning and as you can see I'm back in the peach room, which I should have finished last week, but my week has changed. My job for this week has been put off with a woman texted me yesterday morning. She said, can I put you off for a week because she's got a bug? And I said, yeah, that's fine, but I'll have to put you off for 3 weeks because obviously I've got work booked in. I can't just keep chopping and changing. So I was meant to come here over the weekend and just finish a couple of bits, but of course, what's the point in coming in a weekend? I've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to kill because I've got a job booked in for Thursday and Friday. But anyway, that's by the by. I'm going to be doing my own fences, spraying them on Tuesday and Wednesday, so I'll make a little video of that. And so I've just got about 2 or 3 hours literally in here, so I'll turn you around and show you the outcome of this for anyone that's been following it. So these were these awful flaky walls that needed a lot of attention and stuff like that. It's just a couple of bits of filler just to touch up what I put on Friday, but other than that, I don't know how well you're picking up the light in here. But other than that, they've come up alright really, they're not too bad. A couple of little digs and dents on it, but you know, it's fine, it's fine. They're as good as they're going to get, I think. All the paintwork looks okay. I might just give the windowsill another little sharpen up with that. So not a lot to do in here really. So all I'm going to do really is basically put a curtain pole up. That's the only reason I couldn't finish Friday, because I had wet paint everywhere and I needed to put this curtain pole up. I should have put it up first thing really, but sometimes you just want to get into the painting, don't you? So let's do that now anyway. Let's get the gear out and put a curtain pole up. I think it's an old curtain pole, it's been used elsewhere. Some of the screws that they've given me with it, I've got paint on, but I'll be using my own screws anyway. So sometimes a curtain pole seems like an easy job, but that can be a real pain sometimes. So if you're not sure how to do it, stay with me here and I'll show you how I do it. Might not be everyone's way of doing it, but we've each got our own ways, but this has never failed for me. So let's get on, and what I usually do first thing is find the centre of the wall above the window, which is usually always coincides with the key bit on that middle window, if you've got a middle window obviously. If not, I'd measure it, but so usually I'll take a level line or a laser line and I'll just run up from that centrepiece, and that's where I'll fix my first one, right on the centre there. And as a rule, height-wise, I like to start the brackets 3 inches up from the bottom of the reveal, and then I usually come 3 inches out from either side. So it's quite easy to remember, you just go 3 and 3. So if you put your first one in, and then obviously your second one in, third one in, and we can make sure that that line is level. So once we've got the first one in, we'll take our level line from that first one, we'll put a laser line going right across, and then we can see exactly where we are. I've got this little laser level. I've got 2 or 3 laser levels, but this little one's quite handy just to use for things like that, because you haven't always got to have a stand. You can hold it flush to the wall when you put your first bracket on, and it will shine the beam across, and then you can line up your next bracket from that. So let's do that. Let's find the center point and get the first bracket up. So I'm right on the centre of the keyhole on the handle. I'm just going to do a tiny little dot there. I don't want to do too big a dot in case I'm just off. So I need to measure 3 inches up now from the bottom of this reveal. And I was literally just under it with that guesstimate. So just do a circle there. So I know now that that circle I've drawn is going to be for my first fixing. So I don't even need to hold that there yet. I can just drill that, put a plug in it, get that on, get a screw in, then I can mark for my bottom hinge, my bottom screw there. So let's do that. And I've previously decorated this room, and I did notice some of this plaster up here sounds blown. Now, fingers crossed, it could mean that the screws go in, the drill goes in easier, or it could mean a complete nightmare if a bit wants to fall out. So what we do when we start off this first bit, turn off the hammer on your drill. You do not want a hammer on at this stage, because all that hammer is going to do is vibrate that plaster, and if there is any hairline cracks going on, it's just going to open them up. So just go through with your drill, no matter what drill you've got, if you've got an SDS drill or you've just got a hand drill, a normal drill, which I'm going to be using at the minute, I'm hoping not to get the SDS out. So I'm just going to go through on the drill setting with no hammer. So that way, all I want to do is penetrate the plaster until I hit the brick. Then, if the brick needs a bit of hammer in it, then we can go. But we've already made the hole in that plaster then. We don't want to start disturbing that plaster too much. And for plugs, obviously you can get red plugs, brown plugs, yellow plugs. But I always find these small yellow plugs get the best bite. They really bite well. And also, another thing about using the smaller plugs is, if by any chance your drill bit starts grinding out and makes a bit of a bigger hole, then from the yellow plugs you can jump up to a red plug if the hole's too big and the yellow plug's just spinning in it. At least you've got that option to jump up to the red plug, and then if you do need to go to a brown plug, you can jump up again then, depends how crumbly your wall is. But if you go straight in with the brown plug and you make the hole too big, then you've got to start buying bigger fixings in or fill in and leaving it. So I always start with these. I've put many curtains up with this, big curtains as well. And these little yellow ones, when the screw goes in, it just really bites. So that's what we're going to be using. So I'm going to want a drill bit, obviously to suit the width of that. I don't really want it bigger than that. I just want it the same size really. I want to create the tightest fitting that I can in there. No hammer. You know, the last time I put a curtain pole up on the job, which was last summer, I don't know if any of you saw that video, but there was a rogue heating pipe buried in the wall, and guess who got right through the centre of it? Right, and that's good. That's hollow behind there. Could be a good thing for us. I should have bought a hammer, but I'm just going to use the end of my scraper just to tap it in with. So these little screws are small enough that you can put the first one in, and with these particular brackets, you can hook the bracket over and slot it down. So now we've got that first one in, which is just sitting on that. Now we can make the mark there. We can get this out of the way, and then we can drill our second hole there then. Now where I've put that plug in the wall and done it up tight, and we've got a couple of hairline cracks just starting to come from the edges of the plug. This is one of the reasons whenever I'm putting curtain poles up after decoration, I always leave the paint and a bit of filler in here, because something will happen. You won't see it. You'll put the plug in, tap it with your hammer. This is very blown up here. There's a lot of potential for movement up here. Well, I'm trying to reuse the old screws that came with the pole, but they're absolutely rubbish. So I'm going to put a decent one in the bottom. So that's good. Now we've got a very solid fix in there. That's the first one, the middle one, nice and solid. Now we can come off that with the laser. So let's take you to there, and hopefully you'll see what I'm going to do. Now there's too much sunlight coming in this room for me to be able to see my level there, the laser on it. So I've just gone back to a good old-fashioned level. And it's probably not a bad thing, because I would imagine that most of you own one of these, but you might not always own the laser level. So same principle. We're going to put this level on top of our centre bracket now, and obviously find a level line now, and then from there, so we know we're level on the height. So we just want to come out 3 inches now. So remember, we're going up 3 and coming out 3. So if we can find that imaginary line there, hold the tape there. You can see 3, just do a very faint dot there, just in case we do need to adjust it. But that looks pretty good there. So we're 3 up and 3 out. Then we get a second bracket, and we hold that on top of our mark there. So our mark is just at the top of the bracket. You see our little pencil mark is there. We're going to hold our bracket just on it, central to the bracket, and then we're going to mark our hole. Same again, nice careful drilling, no hammer. Right, we're a bit more solid there. We're going to turn the hammer on now. We're through the plaster, but we can feel brick, so let's get the hammer on it. Right, now that's in. Same again. Make sure these are level. Always make sure they're level. You don't want them sitting like that and marking them or like that. Try and make sure they're level. Alright, that's good. Let's make a little pencil mark there. I'm going to use one of my screws for this bottom fixing because they're a little bit more convincing. Right, that's another good fixing. Now let's put a level on the two. Make sure we're all good still. Yep, we're okay. We're okay. That could be a tad, it's minimal, it's barely anything. So sometimes you'll find when you're putting these curtain brackets up, it's very, very hard to get the holes exactly where you want them because the drill might move a bit, it might veer off of its circular motion. So it's very hard to always get these things dead level. Sometimes you find they just want to turn or kick a bit, or they might be up or down a touch a little bit. But as long as you're within a reasonable tolerance, obviously you don't want to look at your curtain pole and it's doing this, but you might find that it's just not exactly where you wanted it. But to be honest, it's the nature of these things. There's no real adjustment on these. It's get that one on there, and then that centre one, it's all or nothing. There is no room for tolerance that you could just maybe move this up or down a touch. I don't really know why they don't make this hole here a bit more like of an oval shape. So you could, if you was just that little bit out, you could maybe just move it up a bit and then tighten the screw or put it down a bit. But anyway, they are what they are. They're horrible little things. They're very awkward and I hate doing them, but I thought I'd just do a little video showing how I do them. So exactly the same process for this end. We're going to use the centre one to come off to find our level. And yeah, that's all good. And then we're going to use the tape to come out 3 inches. I mean, you could use anything to come out 3 inches. You could have a 3-inch bit of wood that you just put there and you know to mark it, or you could have a set square. You can use anything. I just generally use the tape there. You can sort of see the imaginary line what's going to come up to 3 inches. Just start your tape from that, really. Or start your 3 inches from it, however you feel comfortable, really. Alright, so 3 inches, so I can see that's hitting the 3 there, give or take a couple of mil. So I'm just going to do my little mark there now. I'm still leveled out, which is good. No hammer, again, never hammer first time. And that's another hollow there, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So we've got a hollow in the middle, then we've got brick at one end and then hollow at the other end, so who knows what's gone on with that in the past. Now these are the screws that came with it, and I'm using these purely that the heads are small enough for this first bit to sit over and then slide down onto that top bit to see the top of that shape. So it goes on basically onto that, and then it sits down onto that like that. And that's the only reason I'm using these little screws. When you buy these things, it's usually the screws that let you down. The silly screws that come with it are really the things that give most people the aggro. It's not usually the fitting. Most people might put this up with a drill. You'll pull the trigger on a drill, and if the metal on these cheap screws is soft, it's just going to round off, and then you'll have the drill that's half in and half out. This is where the aggro starts, and this is where people come unstuck. So a good rule of thumb is just buy some decent screws. If you buy something from a shop, say Dunelm or the Range or something, and you go to put it up, throw their screws away, use your good screws, and I almost guarantee you that your success rate will be right up just by doing that. There's something behind there. The drill skewed off a bit off, but hopefully it's far enough in that it's not going to affect that. That's right. Well, no water pipes behind this one. That's for sure. That was a nightmare. I hit a water pipe. Again, the room I just decorated. hit a water pipe which should really never have been there, but it was. The homeowner was an older man, so I thought, when I've lived there since the 80s, he'll know exactly what to do when water starts coming out where it shouldn't. So I called him and I said, and I sort of tried to keep the panic down in the voice, called him in the room, thought he'd say, don't worry, I know exactly where to turn it off. And he looked at me and went, what do we do? What do we do? It was a big place as well. It wasn't just like, oh, there's a stopcock there. It turned out the stopcock was right at the bottom of his garden, and the garden was like a field. So you can imagine the fun that caused. It all got sorted out in the end, but just double check really. I mean, I can see it in here. There's a radiator here, and I can see the pipes just going straight into the floorboards. But this particular house I was working in, a very old house, been added onto over the years, so you really didn't know what was where. Right, let's put the level across the 2 again. Yeah, that's good enough. I'll show you. Look, so we're just coming out the centre, but it's never going to be seen. You know, it's minimal, so I wouldn't worry too much about getting it absolutely bang on. So now we can put the pole up now, and that's the worst of it done. Right, so that there. So now, before I do the ends up on the brackets, I just want to make sure that the overhang with the finials is all equal and looking nice. Again, we can do that with a tape measure, or we can just do it by eye. Sometimes eye is fine really. Now we can do these little bracket grub screws up to stop the bracket from sliding about. Now that's not going to move at all now. And that is my way of putting a curtain pole up properly. Never had any troubles with it unless there's a water pipe behind it, but thank God there wasn't in that case. So just with a little bit of methodical thinking, the right size plugs, the right size screws, not putting the hammer drill on straight away, you can achieve a decent curtain pole for a lovely set of curtains, which I'm not going to see because I won't be here. But if you like this video, like and subscribe. Plenty more like this on my channel. More plastering and decorating, but there's always little handyman bits as well. Right, home. So thanks for joining me today. Nice to have your company, and hopefully I'll see you a bit later on in the week.